what I'm about to show you in this video is not actually that common when it comes to understanding investing, how to invest, where to go to invest, and what is the step-by-step thing behind it, as well as the strategies that people can follow. So I'd say about 2 weeks ago, I was talking to a family relative about investing, and I kind of stumbled across that what I'm about to show you in this video is not actually that common. Now, I'm by no means a financial advisor. I'm not licensed by this bullshit. I'm just showing you in this video what I've done for the last 6 or so years. We're actually going on 7 right now. And this has helped me tremendously from a financial standpoint to obviously build wealth, but also take advantage of the current legal schemes that we have in our country. I'm obviously in South Africa. Many other countries around the world have the same or similar schemes. We call it a tax-free savings account or a tax-free investment account. I like to call it that because I'm not actually saving money. I'm putting money towards shares and stocks where they are getting much better growth than obviously a stupid savings account. But that's just my opinion. This whole video is basically my opinion. I'm going to show you how I do things, how I've done things, and how I'm still attacking the same strategy and following the same step-by-step process as I've been doing since day one. Now that we got the disclaimer out the way, obviously you know that this is all your own doing. If you want to obviously take on what I've done here, you obviously have to go do your own research, and if you really are unsure, then definitely contact a professional. There's so many out there and financial houses that can obviously assist with this type of stuff. So before I get into the actual nitty-gritties of this basic 3-step process that I have actually followed for the last few years, I'm going to go into each little step detailed soon enough, but I just want to give you a little bit of a background as to how this all happened for me. This all happened because of, at a young age, I was exposed to it by my father, showing me how to do this stuff from a very young age. Obviously, I couldn't control it at that time. I was too dumb to do that. But obviously, he used to then ask me for any of money that I had laying around or pocket money that I want to save, and then I would invest it through my father into these type of mechanisms. None of the money that I had ever remained because I kept spending the money, and obviously I had to break that mindset too, but that's for another video. But what I had done is I developed the mindset around having to put money towards something other than a savings account, some other vehicle that allowed me to grow the capital. Now, obviously, there are better methods than investing in shares, and I'm not going to get into that right now, but once you get this process or the mindset around it in your own brain, you'll obviously figure out how things work in this money world, and then obviously there comes better opportunities from that too. So let's discuss the process. The process is very simple. It's basically another 3-step thing that I like to framework in my mind, but it's how I've been able to do things over the last 6 years, okay? The process for me is very simple. I've gone and registered on a platform, all right, that allows me to connect to the exchanges of the JSE or the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, if you will. And now there's abilities to obviously connect to all the other exchanges around the world, thanks to other apps and advancement. But the ones that I've chosen to go with for the last few years is Standard Bank's online share trading, in the acronym OST, or Easy Equities, which is one of the newest comers around the block. These are your platforms. Now, the platform is going to allow you to connect to the exchange so you can buy these shares from these companies, okay? That's how I've been doing it. Then the next thing I did is, obviously in the beginning, I wasn't trustworthy on myself enough yet to obviously go and do the self-discipline and invest the money every month like I should have. So the first thing I did is I then set up a debit order through my banking app, which is obviously allowed and doable. So now you can obviously make these settings yourself inside these apps, which is pretty cool. It was a little bit more difficult back then, but it doesn't matter. Now you can do it. I've now recently stopped doing that purely because I have the self-discipline to obviously debit my own account to these platforms to enable me to invest and have regular cash always laying there for me to invest. And obviously, as I just mentioned, third thing is to always buy on a regular basis. So the strategy that we're going to follow, or that I've been following for the last few years, is very, very straightforward, and we'll get into that shortly. But the main premise of it is to always be buying, and obviously if you feel that you can sell and you've made a profit, then do that. But let's just say you buy on a regular basis. That's it. I only buy, and I buy very frequently. I either buy on a weekly basis or bi-monthly or once a month. So it does change depending on the season and economic platform, economic situations we find ourselves in, but I do buy on a very regular basis, typically once a month. All right, so let's get straight into the strategy, then this might make a little bit more sense. Okay, perfect. So now let's just discuss the strategy that I follow. I learned this way back when from someone called Tony Robbins, purely because he's interviewed many billionaires around the world, and obviously figured out that a lot of them have become super powerful hedge fund people, and the main thing that they always talk about is the average person just would be better off doing this strategy, which is known as dollar cost averaging, or DCA. Now, obviously, you can call it rand cost averaging if you're in South Africa or whatever country you're in, but dollar cost averaging, the principle or the strategy behind it is very simple. So I'm gonna try and draw it out for you on a line graph right now, and then we'll just have a better talk about it, right? So if you had to look at a stock, pick one stock, whatever it might be, that stock is obviously going to do something like this, okay? It's going to eventually, over the markets, and let's talk decades, it'll obviously eventually go up. So this is time, the time over the horizon, and obviously this is price, okay? What happens is, over a longer period of time, decades, you have a better chance of running with the market. As you can see, it kind of runs linearly in a fashion, but over long periods of time, we've seen that the markets tend to go up, okay? It might not eventually stop doing that, but let's not get into theory here. Let's just talk about how markets have been doing it since the early 1800s or whatever it might be. This is kind of what the market picture kind of looks like, overall market of economics. But how dollar cost averaging works is, you decide to come in around this time and you're going to start investing from here on out, okay? But you're going to buy in regular intervals, and this is how dollar cost averaging works. So I followed this strategy ever since 6 years ago, before we even hit the flu stuff around the world. I definitely don't want the video banned, so let's not mention it. However, I started investing, and what I did is I didn't look at the patterns of the charts. I didn't waste my time reading these charts. I didn't care what the price was. Obviously, you do care a little bit, because the lower the price, the more you can buy, but it doesn't really matter. When you buy in regular intervals, you'll then start having something like this. If you had to plot this as your time horizon of buying, you'd obviously have something happen like this, where you bought there, you bought there, you bought there. Let's say these are months apart, so you buy once a month, basically. As you can see, this is how your buying pattern ends up becoming. It looks something similar like this. Now, it will carry on until inevitable once you've decided you're stopping. But for me, I never stopped this process. So I just kept buying and buying on a regular basis. That was once a month for me. However, what happened was, if you look at this and you zoom out even further, because let's zoom out even bigger on the picture of the graph, my line or my cost would eventually start stabilizing itself, but my growth might exceed my cost. And that is exactly what we're looking for with dollar cost averaging. I love dollar cost averaging purely because I don't have to give a shit about the price. I don't have to give a shit about what's going on. I just need to know that those companies are not going to liquidate, and that they are in good standing. And with that being said, I can then just buy on my regular basis, and I can try and average out my cost. But over a long period of time, I'll then see a cost averaging, and I will see my growth coming to obviously, hopefully, a higher percentage than my cost. That is dollar cost averaging in a very short nutshell, and how I understand it. So this is the strategy I follow. And obviously, like we mentioned with the process previously, where we said that in step 3, I regularly invest, you're gonna obviously be doing this exact same process. In the beginning, it's going to seem like it's killing you because you've only got like maybe 2 or 3 touch points. But if you start going for 4 years, 5 years, 6, 7, 10 maybe, you'll start seeing how this line re-engineers itself, if you will. And it creates a much lower cost average that you've been paying for your shares over time. Now, another thing that we need to mention is, obviously, the next thing we're going to talk about is the obvious tracking and so on, because that is the next step. But within this realm of the strategy, we need to understand that The only thing that we can use inside of what we call tax-free accounts or tax-free savings accounts, we can only use things called ETFs. Now, what are ETFs? So let me just quickly get this out of the way. An ETF is a simple term in investing. Oh my word. Okay, ETF, my word. So ETF stands for exchange traded funds. That's a very simple term, but what is an exchange traded fund? If you go look up the definition on Google, you'll pretty much find a very good example of what it is, but it's basically a basket of companies. So if you look at, for example, we've got in our local market, South Africa, we've got the Satrix, we've got Signia, we've got Core Shares, we've got all of these guys, but they are called fund managers, right? And these fund managers create things like the Satrix 40. Now the Satrix 40 is built up of South Africa's top 40 companies. So are they the top 40 companies in South Africa? Then they'll fall in this list. Does it mean that they have nothing under this 40? So 39, 38? No, they probably do have something. This is just the top 40 holdings that your money would probably end up in should you invest in this stuff. Okay. What that means though is if my understanding is if number 40 at the current stage does shit this year, it will then drop to where it needs to be, call that 35 for example, but the one that was 39 will then come and take its place. Okay, that's kind of why I like ETFs and I love using them so much. Obviously we are restricted according to the tax-free accounts to only be using this. We cannot buy individual shares inside of them, so that is part and parcel of the rules around tax-free investing. But if 39 wins and 40 does shit, it's obviously going to take its place, and then you still own the top 40 as a share. Okay, you own pieces of the top 40, not a share. You basically own pieces of every single company in the top 40 should you buy shares of this. Okay, that's it in a nutshell. Now the most popular one overseas is obviously, and I'm talking about America right now, is the S&P 500. So obviously you've guessed it right now if you were listening. The top 40 means top 40 companies in South Africa. So what does it 500 stand for? 500 is the top 500 countries in America. You obviously get the other ones around the world, like you get the FTSE, and you get the I think there was the Allen Gray, but it's now the F&B 1200. So that's an MSCI ETF that tracks the index of all the top 1,200 companies in the world. So there's a whole bunch. I can tell you now, this is two of them that I'm mentioning right now, but there is a stupidly lengthy list of ETFs for you to pick from. They all follow some form of index or a group of shares that are inside this holding. Don't quote me on any of this. I'm just trying to share my idea about how I see ETFs. It is literally, as I mentioned, a basket that you're going to go and buy, and you're going to buy one of these baskets, right? And this one basket consists of all of these companies, okay? And that's what it looks like, okay? Should one do very bad, and like I said, all of these other companies are laying outside here, number 41, sorry, not 30, 41 to the inevitable, and then obviously they'll be laying out here. Should one of these do crap, it gets chased out and this guy gets put in. Okay, that's how I understand it. Now, if you look at a lot of the oldies in investing, especially the owner of Vanguard, or the founder of Vanguard, Jack Bogle spoke a lot about this type of stuff, and he said that the average Joe would be better off buying stuff like this because you can just keep your money growing at a steady pace over the decades, and not have to worry about picking stocks or understanding the financials behind the specific company you're trying to invest in, and so on. So I do agree with that statement, and obviously touching base on why I've now followed the strategies, because back in the day I've lost a lot of money on Forex, I've lost a lot of money on crypto, I've lost a lot of money on individual shares, and trusting that, you know, the people that are running the companies these days are doing it for good and for the shareholders, but sometimes they do it for their own benefit and can be quite stingy. So at the end of the day, you want to invest in companies to obviously grow your money. That's why I do it. But I also got to be cognizant of the fact that they are also looking after themselves. So I also got to have some form of other plan to mitigate my risk. And this is what ETF does for me. So just to touch on the last point inside of those 3-step process that I mentioned in the beginning, we're going to go talk about tracking. Okay, now I've got one of my famous sayings here, not mine. I actually think I heard this from Tony Robbins himself, but he always said something along the lines of what gets tracked gets managed. Why is this so important? Because if you haven't followed the simple process around also checking your budget, right? If you haven't followed a simple Excel spreadsheet, if you don't know how to use Excel, use a damn pen and paper. But if you haven't tracked what your budgets are doing and so on like that, how would you be able to track what you're doing on a shares point of view? All right, because you need to understand how to track these things that make sense to you, but not only makes sense to you, it tells you and paints you the picture of what is going on. It tells you the story. You know, are you actually growing? Are you making money? I use a simple Excel spreadsheet that I then obviously capture once a month. I sit and capture all the investments that I've made, and then it goes into this lovely colorful Christmas tree dashboard that shows me what's going on. Obviously the Christmas tree is red does bad, orange is okay, and then green is great. And that's how I've developed it over the years. Like I said, this is 6 years coming that I've developed this thing. And it allows me to have a very quick overview from a macro or bird's eye view and just understand what's going on with my money and understand quickly, have I been doing well over the last 12 months or the last 2 years just in my investment portfolio? How's my crypto doing? How's my business doing? How's my personal finance doing, you know, around liquid cash? Any other assets that you have that might be bringing you money. You track this stuff on a monthly basis or bi-monthly if you want to be that anal about it. But to me, it is very important to track. And why? And it lays inside the sentence. You know, what you track, it gets managed. So if you don't track it, you obviously don't give a shit about managing it. So it's very important for you to set something up like this, making sure that you track it on a monthly basis. If you are investing on a more regular basis, then obviously try and stay in tune with that. But like I said, do my tracking once a month when I do my investments, just to make sure I pull that new information into the sheet so I can have a quick look at what's going on with all my accounts. Cool, now that this whole thing is complete, I just want to actually end off this video now to ask you to leave a comment below. You know, if you have some questions or there's something that I didn't raise here, or you have something about what I've mentioned on this whiteboard inside this video, whatever it might be, leave your questions and answers at the bottom there. Put a comment in. Did you like the video? Leave the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I don't talk much about the finance stuff of things anymore, purely because I was, let's just call it, pre-warned by a few friends of mine, and it kind of gave me a little bit of a scare to share my journey around investing. And I thought, after speaking to these family relatives, that I would, you know, say to hell with it. I believe that people need to understand this information. They need to know how to do this, because it will then put power back into the people's hands once you've kind of got your financial shit sorted to some extent. So yes, thank you very much for watching the video. If it did help in any way, leave a thumbs up. Like I said, subscribe to the channel. And if you have a question, leave it in the comments below. Otherwise, I will probably not be doing too much more of finance stuff, just to obviously keep on the safe side. But all the best to you. This was my strategy. Remember, I'm not a financial advisor. I really hope that if this does not make sense to you, that you do go and discuss things with your financial advisor about, you know, tackling some of the stuff I mentioned in this video. Without further ado, thank you very much. Have a great day.